Coaches, what's going on? It's Coach Ian Tatum here, back at the Tatum Clinic Series, and today I have Coach Cogdill. He is the head coach at Chase High School here in North Carolina. Very gracious to come on and talk a little defense with us. Coach, you're one of the first guys to come on and actually talk defense on the channel here, so I really appreciate you taking your time and coming on and talking with us.
Oh, I'm really appreciate you having me. Glad to do it. Excited to get on here and talk a little bit about our defense, 3-4, outside linebacker play, DN play, that kind of thing.
Heck yeah. Well, Coach, you want to go ahead and share your screen and we can hop right into it.
All right, if I got it sharing right there, can you see that, Coach? Is that working?
Yes, sir. You want to go ahead and hit full screen on that and we can go ahead and get it.
All right. So this evening I'm talking about defensive end and outside linebacker play in our 3-4 defense that we've been running the last couple of years at Chase High School. I'd ran it before when I was the defensive coordinator at Burns High School over in Cleveland County. It's not. I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you this is the only way to do things because as a defensive coordinator and a head coach, I've ran 3-4, 3-3, 4-2-5. I mean, I believe in tailoring what you do to the people you got on defense. I'm really big on that. Right now, this kind of fits us because we got some outside linebacker type bodies. We're a relatively small school, so numbers are always in the upper 20s, lower 30s. Playing a 3-man front on defense keeps us from having to play as many of our big guys both ways or having to play as many big guys at one time on defense, if that makes sense. So that's kind of why we feel like the 3-4 is best for us at Chase. But, what we do essentially that I'll get into is when you look at us pre-snap, we look like a 3-4 defense. We got 3 guys down. We got 2 outside linebackers and 2 inside linebackers. But post-snap, we're going to essentially become a 4-2-5 defense. Okay, like when the ball gets snapped, we've got a call made, and eventually we're going to become a 4-man front by what we call reducing one of those outside linebackers. One big thing to understand in our defense, reducing and blitzing are not the same. Okay, a blitz and a reduction are not the same. You can see right there on the top line, we believe in spilling the football. We're going to spill the football from C gap or D gap if there's a tight end to D gap. One of the most sickening things in life as a defensive coordinator for me is to look out there and watch ISO or inside veer or something down the heart of the defense running a straight line down the field, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. So if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to beat us with us trying to spill the football and outrun us to the edges. I'm not saying you can't do that. You might be able to, but we're going to do our very, very best not to let you run the ball where the play is designed to go. So we believe in spilling the football. Our defensive end and our outside linebacker that is reducing are basically going to play the same set of rules. So in other words, what I'm telling you is that our outside linebacker that reduces is essentially playing 5 technique rules. So here's a screenshot of kind of what we looked like a couple years ago, first round playoff game right here. And you can see that I've got our boundary outside linebacker circled there and also our field defensive end. The reason those guys are circled is those are our 2 spill players. Okay, I think right here, I think we're playing a little bit of 3 cloud in the secondary right here, if I was just guessing. So our force player down here at the bottom of the screen to the trips is the outside backer, the guy with the white towel. Our force player up top would have to be the inside backer. He would have to get over the top and force the football, the guy standing right on the hash on the 40-yard line. But that outside linebacker that's walking up top, he is still a spill player. So he's keying that tackle up top. If that tackle blocks down, he's going to squeeze and spill, essentially just like a 5 technique is going to do in a 4-man front. Our 4 technique down here is going to do the same thing. One thing that their technique is a little different on, okay? is if they are the read man against like zone read or counter read or something like that. Our defensive ends, our true put your hand in the ground type guys, if they're the guy getting read on zone read, they're going to get their hands on that tackle and they're going to get flat down the line and they're going to turn their shoulders and chase the dive. They're a true dive player. Our outside linebackers that are reducing, if they're the read key on zone read, in camp, we teach them to key the mesh. So they're going to shuffle. They're going to stay big and square. They're going to put their eyes on the back plate of the running back, and they're looking to see if they see Brown or an empty hand coming off the mesh right there. Okay, we teach them, if you don't know, you keep squeezing. You're a dive first player. If we get beat by the quarterback pulling it, then we'll come up and we'll try something else. We got adjustments to, if we can't key the mesh, to make that happen. But that's what we're taught to do day one in camp, is to key the mesh. So that technique they play is a little bit different here. This just gives you a look right here. We're playing a call where we're slanting or moving the front to the strength, to the trip side. So if you start over here on the right of my screen with the outside linebacker with the dotted line, he's our reducer. So the way we call our defense is our outside linebacker that is reducing comes from opposite the call. So if we call left or if we call slant, that tells our defensive lineman which way to go. So left tells the D lineman they're going left. Slant tells the defensive lineman they're going strong. And our outside linebackers have to know, hey, it's the outside linebacker opposite the call who becomes the reducer. A lot of teams don't do it that way. It doesn't really matter how you do it. That's just the way we do it. So starting over here again on the right of my screen, the outside linebacker with the dotted line, he's our reducer. He's coming, and you can see the little squiggly line. He's a spill player. He's keying that tackle. If that tackle blocks down, he's going to squeeze and spill. If that tackle blocks him, he's going to try to take him on and hold C-gap. We got a defensive end on that side with the yellow line going into the guard. He's going to do what we call long step inside. He's trying to get his hands on the guard. He's essentially becoming a 3 technique, okay? And then we have our nose guard there in the middle. He has what we call a short step. He's going to take a short step straight ahead, trying to knock back the center. And as he does that, he's going to try to work his hips into the left A-gap. Our defensive end over here with the red shoes on, he's also a short stepper. He's going to short step straight ahead. Excuse me. One thing we do not worry about at all with our 4 techniques, that we don't even work it. We do not care if this 4 technique gets reached. We want him to squeeze and spill the football. We want him to chase the dive. We don't care if he gets reached as long as he keeps fighting it and he doesn't get reached by the guard. He's always covered up by an outside linebacker, or he's always covered up by a safety, and we've got a fast flow inside linebacker behind him. So we don't even hardly work reach blocks with our defensive ends. It doesn't matter to us. They're going to play B gap against the reach, kind of that lag technique that people are playing, okay? That's kind of what we're going to do there with those guys. So this is just what I talked about. This is just a presentation right here. It's just the stuff I was talking about, how we play our defensive linemen. We got a call base. It's kind of 2 gapish. Went inside, don't get turned out. But our primary calls are left, right, slant, and angle. Like I told you, that tells our defensive linemen where they're going to go. It doesn't tell our and then our outside linebackers have to know they're opposite of that call. So again, if we make a right call, that tells the D lineman they're going right. The left outside linebacker is the reducer. We talk to our guys, this short step, long step. If you're the end to the call, you got a short step straight ahead. The nose guard always is a short stepper. And then the defensive end away from the call has the long step. He's becoming the 3 technique. One great thing about using that technique is it makes your defensive lineman really interchangeable. If you can short step at nose guard, you can give us a few reps at D end if we need it. If you can short step at D end, you can give us a few reps at nose guard if you need it. So that makes our guys, really interchangeable there. The defense long step, that's the defensive end away from the call. He's going to take a big lateral step inside. He's going to try to get his hands on the guard. One big thing you got to teach that long stepper, don't get cut off by the tackle. Like you're long stepping inside, you the big gap player, you're trying to get your hands on that guard, is zone away from you. You cannot let that tackle cut you off. Okay. We would be more okay with that tackle blocking down on him and washing him a little bit than we would be on that tackle cutting him off on the backside of the zone. We can squeeze that down block if that tackle's blocking down. We can't put somebody extra in his gap if it's zone away from him and he gets cut off. The nose guard's going to have the short step, small lateral step to the call. He's trying to get his hands on the center. He's trying to get his backside hand. So if it's a left call, he's trying to get his right hand on the V of the neck, front side on the breastplate. We want to really focus on knocking that center back. That nose guard is going to get doubled a lot. And so the big way to beat the double is to get knockbacks. Get them on different levels. Knock that center back. Get him on a different level than that guard. You're an offensive line coach. Coach, that's really tough when your center gets knocked back or your post man on the double gets knocked back. That makes it really tough. So we want to knock him back. And then we teach him to get his hips skinny in his gap when he feels that down block pressure come back to him, and then rip through to get back to square. So that's kind of our nose guards technique there. Our defensive end with a short step, again, he's not concerned with getting reached. We don't want him to take a big step outside because we want him to spill the ball. A lot of odd fronts that move and slant. If they call left, that left defensive end is taking a slant step outside. We don't do that because he's going to spill the football. If he's taking a big outside step, he can't spill the football, and we're going to get gashed in big gap. Okay? We tell him short step straight ahead. Get your hands on the tackle and be able to squeeze and spill. Okay? We're not overly concerned with him about his footwork as far as does he step with this foot. Our defensive line coach teaches him hat and hands, coming out of your hips, getting your hat and hands on that tackle. Okay? So that's kind of an overly simplified way of how we teach that. Okay? Right here is a good look at it. We're playing base right here in this screenshot we got. So you can see our 2-4 techniques. They're going to play inside leverage right there. Okay? They're going to play inside gap. Let me see. Hold on. Bear with me just a second. Let me pull this up. That's not it. Hold on. Sorry about that. Just bear with me. All right. So you can see right here, this is the clip I was just showing you. We're playing base. If you watch these two guys right here, our two defensive ends.
Coach, you switch over to huddle.
Yes, sir.
You're gonna have to unshare and do it again.
Okay, sorry about that. Stop sharing. Present. Share screen. Share screen. It's actually not huddle. It's a huddle clip embedded in the presentation. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, it wasn't. It was still frozen. It wasn't showing it.
Hold on, just a second. It was playing on my end.
All right.
Sorry about that.
It's all good.
All right, can you see that right there now?
Yeah, let's see if it'll play.
Let me make it big for you. All right, so like I was saying, we're playing base technique right here. Hopefully it'll play the video. We can take it through here a little bit. So we're playing base. Again, base is kind of a two-gap-ish type thing for us. So if you watch these two the nose guard's going to two-gap. These two defensive ends, they're going to be heavy inside. It's a really good job by them of stopping the outside zone stretch play. See that defensive end fall back in the B gap on our defensive left. He's getting stretch blocked. Don't worry about getting reached. Fall back in the B gap. We got an outside linebacker out there. Really good job by the nose guard. Big kid at nose guard right there. We don't care if he gets reached. Short step straight ahead. Don't get taken over by the second guy. See how he keeps the second guy from taking him over? So we're playing base right there. But even if we were playing a left call, that would have been very, very, very similar to the way the technique they would have played right there. Okay. They would have played a very, very similar technique. So not a whole lot changes there. Very similar for those guys. Well, sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties getting to the next thing I want to show you. It's not going to my next slide on here for some reason. All right, hold on just a second. Sorry about that, Coach.
No, it's all good.
So I warned you now. I'm not too good about this technology stuff.
It's all good.
Because I got some more clips in here so we can see the clips, where we can.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I got one right here. So screen. All right, so right here, okay, I believe we have. I've got some bad clips on here too. Now I'm just telling you, I got some bad clips on here too. Okay, I put good and bad on there, but you watch this right there. The defensive end on our left, his tackle's going to pull. The back's on his side. Look how he plays that dive. He's a dive first player. Okay, he does a really good job right there of taking away the counter play. They're trying to run GT on us right here, and if you watch, that ends up saving the play because on our right, on the tight end side, that's a sophomore playing his first varsity game, right? And you can see, I just told you, we believe in spilling the football. He don't do a real good job right there, wrong arm in the trap. He does a good job of getting his hands right there on the tackle, but you see he don't get the ball spilled. He don't get the ball spilled at all. But what saves us is that chaser off the backside. We real big on getting that. That's real big to us right there. So that's something that we're really big on. That's a big part of our defense. Is a good look at what happens when you fail to spill the football right there. Like I said, in our defensive terminology, slant and angle talk about whether we're going to move to the tight end or away from the tight end. So in our defense, we have the ability to call the front either field or boundary. Okay, left and right calls allow me to call the front to the field or to the boundary. Let's say the ball's on the right hash and I want to move the front to the field. I know the ball's on the right hash. I make a left call and we're boundary reduction. Okay, so we use that a lot against spread teams. If we're getting a lot of 10 personnel, we're going to use left and right calls to make sure that our two high coverages fit with the front. Okay, if we're playing a heavy run tight end, especially if there's two H-backs or two tight end type personnel teams, we're going to play a lot of slant and angle. Okay, and we're going to relate either to the tight end or away from the tight end. So the way we teach that to our kids, our defensive linemen, is slant starts with an S, strong starts with an S. So you moving strong. And our outside linebackers know they're opposite. Angle starts with an A, away starts with an A. So then again, they know they're moving opposite. Okay, our outside linebackers do. And then that's a good look at the chaser. We just saw that one. here's a good look at what happens when you don't get the chaser. If you watch our kid on the defensive right here, okay, if you watch him, he's not very, this is the first game of the year 2 years ago. This is our first game in this defense, as a matter of fact, okay? So we're going to make some mistakes. You watch the defensive end to our right, the defensive right, he starts to chase, but watch his eyes. He gets his eyes on the quarterback right there instead of on the dive, and we don't get the chaser. You see, we get gashed. We get gashed in B gap. Let's watch the defensive end at the bottom of the screen. He don't get his hands on the tackle. He don't get the football spilled. That's not a very good job of what we teach either one of our defensive ends to do. But again, this clip's on here because this is early in the year. Again, that was our first game in that defense. Like when I say our first game in that defense, the first time we had ever played that defense in a game. Okay? So that has a lot to do with why it looks like that. Talking about our defensive lineman play. Here's kind of what we work. Here's kind of how we think. Versus down blocks, we want to squeeze and spill. We're always dive players. We don't want any conflict in those guys' mind. We want them to know that they are always going to be a dive player if they're a defensive lineman. Later on in the year, we'll put in some blitz packages maybe where they're not, and just to keep it simple, we tell those guys, hey, you always got to dive. Okay. So we're going to squeeze, we're going to wrong arm, and we're going to be dive players. If we get a base block, okay, if that tackle or center base blocks us or tries to turn us out, number one, we want to get a knockback, and we want to compress the inside gap. We want to know if we're getting turned out by the tackle, let's say we're a 4 technique, we're getting turned out by that tackle. We want to take that tackle and lock him out. Remember, we talked about hips and hands, and lock him out and put his body in the B gap, okay, and our body in the C gap, okay? We're not going to get too torn up if in doing that, if that 4 technique and fighting that tackle's base block, if he ends up with his hat in the B gap, we're not going to get too torn up about that. It's the linebacker or the safety's job to fit it and make it right. I think I mentioned this. We don't hardly ever practice the reach block with our D linemen. We're not too overly concerned with getting reached. Just don't get taken over by the adjacent offensive lineman. Okay? Don't get taken over by the next guy. Here's another look at us early in the year. Let's see. It's been a while since I've taken a look at this and studied. Let's see how we do right here at what we've talked about teaching our D linemen. So I think we've got a right call or a slant call. We're going to be moving to the defensive right towards the tight end on the right-hand side of the screen for me, the defensive right. 16, I believe, down here at the bottom is going to do a really good job of squeezing it. But if you watch number 2, okay, let's watch number 2 over here on the right-hand side of the screen right here. He doesn't do a real good job, okay? No hands on the tackle. Like you can see right there, he don't have any hands on the tackle. He ain't getting nothing on him. You can see right there, great screenshot right there of him boxing the trap. He's not getting that spilled. Why do we want it spilled? Here's a good look at why we want it spilled. Look at 17 and 7 sitting out there. Our inside linebacker, number 17, has read that correctly, and he scraped over the top waiting for the ball to get spilled to him. Then we got our outside linebacker sitting over there as the force player setting the edge. So we got 2 guys waiting on the spill, and we don't get it. If you look right now, we get lucky, okay, that 16 did a good job of chasing it, because if you look right here, if I just take it back and freeze it, right there, that B gap's getting ready to be open. Okay, our nose guard does a good job against the double to knock that guard back in that gap and cloudy it up, and 16 does a good job of chasing it. But you can see right there, if we box that, we don't do that, man, there was a gap right there, and we just got lucky and they missed it. Okay, so one good look at a good job right there. one look at a bad job right there.
Coach, I got one question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So that was a look against teams that double the nose back and send the tackle down to your play side linebacker.
Yep.
What would you want the DN to get hands on that guy? What do you teach your DN when the tackle arcs outside to your outside linebacker?
That's tough, man. We've went back and forth on that, and we've played that a few different ways. First of all, if that defensive end has the call that makes him the long stepper going inside, he ain't looking at the tackle. So that's easy. He's going inside. Because he's the B gap player. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
If you're talking about the short stepping defensive end, the one to the call, then he's keying that tackle. And the way we figured that out is he's going to get his hands on that tackle, and that's naturally going to make him step out just a little bit. Okay? It's also going to make B gap look open for the inside linebacker behind him. So that inside linebacker is going to fill that B gap. At that point, when he realizes that tackle's not trying to reach him, because that arc looks like a reach. We don't mind him being behind that reach, right? We're okay with that. When he getting his hands on him, he realizes that tackle is trying to arc to that outside backer. We're going to snap his eyes back inside, and now he would probably become a box player because that inside linebacker has read that as open. That was kind of a convoluted way to explain it. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, well, we're going left right here. Okay, another good look at our defense again early in the year. First game ever in this defense. So, our call right here was probably angle cover 3. Our safety's rolling down. We're reducing off the tight end side. The D-line is moving away. Again, you can see our sophomore, who's really, really good now. He's not a sophomore anymore. He'll be a senior 3-year starter for us next year, number 33. He doesn't do a very good job. He's supposed to be long stepping. He ends up getting kicked out. That's not very good by him. Okay. But remember, what are we always at defensive end? If our tackle pulls, blocks down, backs on our side, we're always a dive player. So again, 16 does a really good job of saving us right there, chasing the dive, making the play on the backside. Hopefully, I'll get to some good looks here in a minute of us actually spilling it. I know I put some early in the year to show you what it looks like early in the year when it isn't real good. And then I put some on there for later in the year when it doesn't look real good. There's another one that's not real good, just to be honest with you. Let's see if we get a good one right here. All right. I think we get a pretty good one right here. This is later in the year. This is in the first round of the playoffs. They're running trap. Now watch 16 here on the left side of the defense. He doesn't do a super job of getting his hands on the tackle. That part of it's not real good. I'd like to be more physical. Excuse me. I'd like to see him being more physical on the spiel. We teach him we don't want to avoid the blocker that's pulling on us. He kind of avoids him. Cameron, that kid's name's Cameron. He kind of jumps inside of him. But he gets the inside fit, and what happens is the ball. The play is trap. What's that running back been taught on trap since August the 1st? Trap's going to be an A gap or B gap, right? But when Cameron gets inside that block right there, what happens to their ability to run the play where it's supposed to be ran? They can't run it there anymore. He has to bounce it. When he bounces it, we got defenders there to make the tackle. That was a decent job of defense right there, spilling the football, getting the football spilled. I think this is the same play just from the end zone shot. Okay, you get the same look at it from the end zone. So we're going left right here. It's a 10 personnel team, so we're probably calling the field or boundary. Looks like we're in a left call. Looks like we're rotating to 3 cloud. You can see, again, 16's not doing a real good job getting his hands on the tackle, but you can see his response. You can see our big nose guard we got in the game right there. He's getting a knockback, doing a good job fighting through the double team. Let's look at our end on the backside. And he gets cut off a little bit. He's fighting it, but he gets cut off a little bit by the tackle trying to pull check him. But we get the football spilled by the front side defensive end. It ends up being a pretty good play for us. Come on. All right. Also, this is also late in the year. Here we are in the playoffs, second round against J.M. Robinson. I believe they were 10-1. A big second round game. It was one of the first second round games our school had got to host in a really long time a couple years ago. Remember that sophomore I showed you the first game? He wasn't doing a good job of getting his hands on the tackle. He wasn't doing a good job of spilling the trap. Well, now we're in game 12. So let's watch this kid right here and watch how he does a better job of playing his technique. First of all, you see how he gets his hands on the tackle right there? He actually reaches out and grabs him. That's probably a penalty, right? How many times we seen that get called? You know what I'm saying? Like, that don't get called a whole lot. We got that from a buddy of mine that's the head coach at West Lincoln, Darren Ponder. That was a little tip he had given us when we went to this defense. His defense is very similar. He does a really good job. Now you can see see that defensive end getting his hands on that guy, getting inside of it. What happens to football? We get the football spilled, don't we? When we get the football spilled, they're not able to run the play where it's designed to go. There's our linebacker waiting on it. Notice how our defensive end that spilled the football right there, okay, notice how he finishes the play. He don't just spill the football and stop. If you watch, our backer scrapes. There's our backer, but that's also the kid that spilled the ball running the hoop to finish the tackle. So that's really good effort by that kid running the football. We like to see that. Same play from the end zone shot. I believe it was raining that night. It's not a real good shot. We played in a monsoon that night. We actually moved that game up to a Thursday night to avoid the rain, and it still rained really, really hard. So go figure. Go figure. Sometimes you make a call, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it ends up not really mattering. All right, good look at it from the end zone shot right here. All right, we're going right. We're reducing to the right, moving to the defense's right here. Now you can see this guy up top. We talked about base blocks. This defensive end number 2 is getting base blocked by the tackle. I think the tackle might have had a missed assignment. I really don't think that's what he was designed to do. But if you watch number 2 right here, he's doing a good job on this play. He's getting his hands on the tackle right there, okay? This play continues to go on. We let the play go, okay? He's going to lock him out. He's going to compress him inside, okay? Really good job by that kid. Comes off the block, makes the tackle, rally the football. Really good play right there by that kid. All right, back later in the year. Another good look at a base block right here. We talked about down and base. 16 at the bottom of the screen. He's getting base blocked right here. Boom. Right there, you can see him taking on the base block. See how he locks that guy out? That kid was extremely strong. They're trying to run some kind of dart fold play, I believe. See how he's got compressing that gap. He's not getting wide, and he's not letting that guy waller him out of there. He's putting him in the B gap. He's staying in the C gap. So the running back don't see anything up in there because he's compressed that gap with the offensive lineman so much on the base that there ain't nowhere for him to go. He starts to bounce it. We got a chance to rally to the football, make a good play right there. Made a really good play. I think this is it from the end zone camera. I think this is the end zone copy of the same play. So Cameron right here, he's going to be getting base block. You can see him take it on. You can see him lock it out. See how he's got his arms locked out? Look at that B gap. Look how small B gap is between the nose guard fighting the double team and the short step and defensive end compressing the base block. We're doing a good job on the backside. We're inside the tackle with the long step. Here's our reducer. He's squeezing that down. You look in that tackle box, there isn't anywhere to go. There's nowhere to go. The only thing that I would like to see is our inside linebacker reads that wrong. He needs to be fitting B gap like that's ISO. Okay, that's the one thing we did wrong right there, but we're not talking about inside linebacker play tonight, so I'm not going to harp on that too much. Good look at it right there. This is about halfway through the year. You ask about the arc block, Coach. This is a good look at it. This is exactly what you was asking about a minute ago right here. I think this is tough. You watch this tackle right here. He's going to arc to our outside linebacker. You see him right there, just like you were talking about. Our defensive end does a great job of getting his hands on the guy. See, our defensive end's got our hands on the inside of him. He's locking him out. Our inside linebackers, that's an open read for him. Look at that gap. That gap is wide open. The inside linebacker ought to be coming to fill it. I believe that he is. But when our defensive end feels the pressure release, like at this point, he has felt that tackle is arcing him and not reaching him. You're going to see him put his foot in the ground, come off the block, get his eyes back inside, and box that puller. You see that right there? That's exactly what I was trying to explain a few minutes ago on that question you asked, Coach. And then our backside backer scraping over the top to finish that up. So that's exactly the look that you were talking about. This is it from the end zone camera. Same play from the end zone camera. We're going to get an arc block here by this tackle. Hands on him. Oh, squeeze, box. Linebackers filling the gap to clean it up. So it's just an example of he's reading his key. His key's to tackle. Okay, he's getting his hands on him because that's his key. When he doesn't feel the pressure anymore, he's going to come off his key, get his eyes back inside. The linebackers are doing a good job of fitting and making him right there. That's a really good play, fundamental defense by our defensive end, our two linebackers. Really good fits right there. You'll see too right here, we're going to talk about outside linebacker play in just a few minutes. 22 is going to reduce off the left-hand side of the screen. See how he's getting flat and chasing it, key in the mesh? He knows that that's a dive key now, and he's going to get flat and get in on that play. If you blitz off the backside, if you make that guy a blitzer and not a reducer, then what ends up happening is you don't get that guy in on the play because he's going upfield shoulder of the quarterback. So that is a different call for us. A blitz is a different call for us than it is just normal base defense reduction. Okay, it's two different things in our defense. Right here, I believe we got a right call going on. Okay, we should be moving to the defense's right. You can see 16 getting the B gap and take on the guard. He does a really good job right there. Okay. You can see the nose guard. He doesn't get taken over by the backside player, and he falls back in and makes the tackle with the lag technique. Really good by those guys right there, Coach. Really good. One thing we did, this is a kind of a side point that we like this against inside zone. We tagged the call with what we called eagle. Eagle is end and A. So that tells the long step and defensive end, the defensive end that's normally going B gap, hey, if that guard blocks you, you go ahead and cross his face and fit in the A gap. We like that against the inside zone because it really cleans the read up for our outside linebacker, for our inside linebacker. So we're reducing off the top of the screen. We've added an eagle call to this. So you'll watch our defensive end up top. He'll take on that guard, and then he crosses his face in A gap, and that's going to leave our play side linebacker unblocked on the inside zone. Easy key for him. B gap's open. Nobody's blocking him. And you can see he feels it really well, puts his hat on the ball, causes a fumble. You can see it from the end zone. You can really see it good from the end zone copy right here. Okay. We got a left eagle is the call. That end ends up in A gap. Easy read for that inside backer. That's not a base technique for us, but that's a really good call that you can use, if you're playing inside zone. We like it against inside zone teams. Not crazy about it against gap scheme teams because you're not getting blocked out on by that guard, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? You're getting blocked down on by the tackle. One more look at it right here. Later in the year, this is, I think, the next to last regular season game. Getting a good chase by 16. See 16 doing a good job of chasing his key. He's got the long step. He's getting down inside. Guard and tackler pulling. He's going with them. Number 2 right here is doing a good job on the double team. The ball gets spilled, and that's a good play for us. All right. So that's our base defensive line techniques, okay? That's kind of what we teach up front. Now we're going to talk about the outside linebacker play. And again, it's not a whole lot different, okay? Our outside linebackers, we ask these guys to do a lot now. Your outside linebackers, in this defense, they got to be on point because they're basically playing 5 technique rules when they're the reducer, and we're asking them to be force players and coverage guys when they're not reducing. Because we ask them to do a lot, I actually coach this position on the defense. I coach our outside linebackers. When we put the defensive end, I knew we were going to be asking a lot of those guys. I wanted to make sure it got done the way I wanted it. So I coach the outside linebackers. Basically, he's playing 5 technique rules. We're getting into the 4-2-5, and he is a spill player. I did talk about the one difference is how we play the zone read. Okay, the DN is a straight dive chaser. He's going to chase the dive, and the outside linebacker is going to key the mesh. Okay, so our reduction rules. Okay, here's what we tell our guys. When you're reducing as an outside linebacker, your key is the end man on the line of the scrimmage. It doesn't matter whether it's a tackle or a tight end. Okay, your rule is to get your eyes on the end man of the line of scrimmage. When the ball is snapped, you need to be at the hip of the end man. Okay, if he is a tackle and he blocks me, I'm going to get my hands on him and I'm going to try to hold C gap. I teach them to hunker down in there and hold C gap. If it is a tight end and he blocks out on me and I'm reducing, we teach him to cross his face in the C gap. So that's different. They've got to know, is that a tackle blocking out on me when I'm reducing, or is that a tight end? Because I cross a tight end's face, but I don't cross a tackle's face. That's why when we practice football, one day an individual for my group, for the outside linebackers, one day will be all reduction individual. Like we'll work on squeezing and spilling, squeezing and wrong arming, keying the mesh, reducing and a tackle's blocking out on me, reducing and a tight end's blocking out on me. Like, so we spend a whole day on reduction. And then on Tuesday, we spend that day on force and drops and the coverages that we're going to be in that week, if that makes sense. And then on Wednesday, there's usually a little less individual time, and I just kind of clean it up. Okay, so that's where it says, if he blocks me, get my hands on him and hold C gap. If a tight end blocks out on me and I'm reducing, I'm going to cross his face into the C gap. If he blocks down, it doesn't matter whether he's a tight end or a tackle. It's the same. He blocks down, I'm going to shuffle, squeeze. I'm going to stay big and square. I'm going to get my eyes inside. If I'm getting a puller back at me, I'm going to squeeze and spill, and I'm going to be thick on that. That's one big coaching point with your outside linebackers on the wrong arm, is teach them to be thick on it. What we mean by thick is we want to hit them with our outside shoulder in the middle of their breastplate. Again, a lot of times when you first go to this defense, those outside linebackers, they're not used to wrong arming. Like the year before we went to this, we were a 3-3 stack team. And those guys that were our outside linebackers in the 3-4 were our spur, overhang guys in the 3-3, and they'd been force players their whole life. Well, now we were teaching them to be spill players. So that was a huge thing for us, was teaching them how to be thick on that kick out block if they were getting trapped. Got to be thick on it. Okay? If the back's on my side, I know I got to be ready to key the mesh. And we game plan that sometimes too now. Like if we don't think that the quarterback's a big running threat, we want the quarterback to have to pull it. Some weeks I'll tell them, hey, guys, we ain't keying the mesh this week. We straight dive. If the quarterback is a huge running threat and we're scared of him, sometimes we'll tell them like, hey, we're not keying the mesh this week. We're going to make it a crash call, and we're going to go straight to the quarterback. So there's some things you can do game plan-wise there based off the other team. But camp rules, day one, we're going to key the mesh. We also teach them like, okay, no pre-snap. Look at it pre-snap. If the back's on my side, I know that there's a good likelihood that I'm the read key, and I need to be ready to key the mesh. If the back's away from me, I know there's a good chance that I'm going to be the guy getting trapped. You know as well as I do, there's still their same side counter, their same side trap out of the gun, but the vast majority of shotgun run plays go away from the back. So those are just little pre-snap keys we can teach them to help them know, what to be ready for, so to speak. You know what I mean? So right here, again, week 1, first game in this defense. Number 7 right here is our reducer on the left-hand side of the defense. We got an angle call or a right call going on right here. He's the reducer. Now, he doesn't do a really good job at first. You can see there's a little bit of space right there. I'd like for him to close that space off. But look at 7's eyes. Where are 7's eyes at? They're inside and they're on the mesh. He knows he's got to key the mesh. He's got his eyes on the mesh key. Now watch him fall back in there and make the tackle on the dive. Now to make that a perfect rep, okay, that's a decent rep. That's not a perfect rep in my opinion. He would have been shuffling right here and closing off this space between him and the tackle. I don't like that space right there. I'd like to see that closed off a little more. But it's a decent look at him keying the mesh right there. I think this is probably the same play from the end zone copy. Again, you can see that space really good right here that I'm talking about. I'd like to see him close off. I'd like to see that space closed off right there. You see it? I just like for him to keep shuffling down and be his hip attached to this down block's hip right here is really what I would like to see. But we're able to fall back in there and make the tackle. Same game. Let's see which way we're reducing from. All right, same thing. Okay, first year kid, first game. So again, just like with the defensive lineman part of this talk, I had some clips on there where it was not real perfect early in the year. And then I had some clips from later in the year where it was a lot better. Same thing here. This is early in the year. We had game planned this up, so 7 always went at the tight end. He don't do a real good job of squeezing that down at all. Like he should be, there's a tight end and a wing. He should be in a 9 technique on the tight end. That wing should not be able to get inside of him right there. That's actually pretty poor, in my opinion. But he knows he's got to fit where on a kickout block. He's got to fit inside. So you can see right there, he's spilling that kickout block by the running back. He's falling in on that and making the tackle. Okay? That's a pretty decent job in week 1 by that kid. Not perfect. Okay? Not a perfect rep, but he knows he's a spill player. He knows he's got to get the football spilled or he's got to make the tackle. Okay? He's able to get that done right there for us. Same thing right here. I'm pretty sure 7's the reducer. That's the way we'd game plan that up. You see him right there again. It's not pretty. It's not perfect. Okay, there's a lot I don't like about this rep. That big guard comes to kick him out on the buck sweep. Initially, look at his contact. His hat is not in the right spot, but he fights because he knows he's got to fit inside. He eventually gets it fit inside, right? Enough to make the football do what? Enough to make the football bounce. We get it cleaned up and tackled for a minimal gain right there. So again, not a perfect rep, but again, we're early in the year right there. So what I'm trying to do is show you a look where we're not perfect. We're not, necessarily 100% right, but we can see where our fits are and we can see where we're supposed to be. All right, right here, 22 is the reducer right here. So we're going to be reducing right here. I'm pretty sure we called angle. We've rolled to cover 3. Okay. 22 does a better job. See him squeeze. That tight end's going to block down. He's going to squeeze. He's going to fit inside that puller on the belly. It's a belly play. The front side guard's pulling to kick him out. Would I like for him to be more physical? Yes, absolutely. But what happens to the ball? It gets spilled. There's our roll down safety right there to clean it up. Got a TFL. Can't ask for much better than that right there now. 3-yard tackle for loss. Got the ball spilled to an unblocked defender. That's what we're teaching that kid to do. This is later in the year now, so I would think by this time we're seeing a little better play. This is the next to last regular season game. Okay? It's harder to see 7 right here. He's the one I'm talking about. But remember how early in the year, that first week, we watched those clips a minute ago. Right here, 7 was really having to fight to get his fit where he needed it to be. All right, watch him this time. Watch his fit this time. Boom. That's good and thick. He's hard to see in there, but he's in there good and thick, and he's taking the fight to that puller, and we get the football bounced. We don't fit it right at linebacker, but that kid did a much better job of playing his technique, of playing his reduction technique than he did on early in the year in week 1 that we saw just a few clips ago. So we're trying to get that football spilled by those guys. This is a look at it from the end zone copy. You'll be able to see 7 a little better right here once he gets lined up. He's in a 9. He's got a tight end. Block down. Look at that fit right there. Look at that spill. Look at him taking his outside arm. That's thick. That's what we're talking about being thick on it. See how he's took his outside arm and put it in the gut of that puller? That's being thick on the pull. That's what we want to see. That was a better job by that kid on that play. So you get to see a little bit of his progression from the beginning of the year to later in the year. Remember, I told you, okay, here's a good look. If we're reducing and the tight end blocks out on us, we're going to cross his face and fit in C-gap. Well, we're going to treat this tight slot, H-back, whatever you want to call it right here, we're going to treat this guy like a tight end. Sometimes it's really hard for defenders to tell the difference between like a Y-off, H-back, tight slot like this kid is and a tight end. Like we've struggled with that in the past. So we just tell our kids, hey, if he's attached to the box, you treat him like a tight end. If you're reducing, he blocks out on you, you cross his face. This kid up top does a good job of that. Okay? The H-back tight slot blocks out on him. He crosses his face and fits inside in the C-gap. Backer's over the top. There's the backside backer coming to clean it up. That's a good job of defense right there. And that was back in week 1. So that's early in the year for us right there. That was a good fit. That was a good fit by our guys. This is about week 4 right here. I think this tight end down here is going to block out on us. Boom. We fit inside. What happens to the ball once we fit inside in C gap? The ball bounces. We got the defensive end long stepping in the B gap. We got the outside backer crossing the face in the C gap. We got backers getting over the top. We got a safety rolling down in cover 3. He's really tight to the box. The ball gets spilled to him. Boom. Unblocked defenders making the play. Really good job, but really good fits by our guys right there. And they're just playing their camp rules. We just playing our camp rules right there. You know, that's not game plan or anything. That's camp rules. All right, let's see. I think we're reducing up top. We line up wrong. If you look at this pre-snap, let's go back to pre-snap. I don't know what we're doing, but we've slid our front the wrong way. You look at nose guards in a weak side shade, and the defensive end is looks like a 2 technique on this sideline shot. There's no way we're lined up right there. We don't even have that front in existence. But what I'm wanting to show you is this guy's reducing. What's the tight end doing? He's blocking him. So now where's he going to fit? He's going to fit inside. All right, good job by that kid fitting inside on the duo play right there. Okay, really good job by him. That's the way we teach him to fit that. Get that football spilled. We didn't necessarily get that there, but he did a good job with his fit right there. Same play from the end zone copy right here. We're just watching number 7 here on the left-hand side of the screen. Again, I don't know what I don't know what we're doing. I'll just be honest with you. Like, as far as our alignment goes right there, we're not good. We're not right. But that tight end's going to block out on him, cross his face, football gets spilled. Really nice job right there by that kid. I'm telling you, that's not even a front that is in existence right there in our defense. But that number 7 makes us right. Backers over the top. Good pursuit. Good pile. Good play by our defense right there. But that outside linebacker fitting in C-gap was the key to making that play successful when he was reducing. That's a big, big key for us. If he doesn't, like, let's say you reduce from the tight end side. Okay? Let me see if I can get this thing paused so I can talk for just a second. If you reduce from the tight end side and you don't teach that outside linebacker to cross that tight end's face, you don't have a C-gap defender. Okay? So he's got to fit C-gap. So an easy way to teach that for you would be, if I'm reducing, I spill all blocks unless I get a base block from the tackle. I never want to spill a base block from the tackle when I'm reducing, because I've got a defensive lineman in B gap. When it's a tight end, that defensive lineman's in B gap, so I got to fit into the C gap to make us gap sound, so that we've got a hat for every gap. All right, so we're reducing right there. Watch 7 blow that block out by the tight end. That tight end or wing tries to block out on him. He spills that block. He fits inside, blows the play up. Boom. Bounces it. Safety and him make the tackle. Good down to defense by our guys right there. Good down to defense by our guys. We're really physical. We're being really physical right there. I like that play by that kid right there a lot. Bet 7's reducing again. Fit inside. Boom. Right there it is. Make the play. Good job on defense by our guys right there. So that just gives you a look. That's gave you several plays of a look where, you know, we're not where we're playing our reduction rules. How we're playing the trap. How we're playing the turnout block by the tight end. So that's half the battle with the outside linebackers. The other half of the battle is, what are your non-reduction rules? Okay, so let's talk about not being the reduction player. It's almost, Coach, in our 3-4, like the old 50, a rush in and a drop in. So our non-reduction player would be like the drop in. So on the snap, he's going to bounce, and he's going to key the end man on the line of scrimmage. We teach our guys, if they're not reducing, they bounce in place. Okay, 3 quick, short little bounces, and they're seeing the end man on the line of scrimmage for run pass. They're seeing the backfield for flow. Okay. So we got to see through the end man on the line of scrimmage to the backfield when we're the non-reduction player, when we're the drop end, so to speak. And we teach our guys there's 3 types of flow. There's fast flow. Fast flow is outside fast. We talking jet sweep, tall sweep, stuff like that. That's fast flow. Then there's downhill flow where the back's on a 45-degree angle at me. That's like power and counter. And then there's inside or away. That's like inside zone, ISO, or play away from me. So we teach them to see the OL to know whether it's run or pass, and whether they're, and then see the backfield for flow. Okay. So our fast flow rules, think jet sweep, think tall sweep, whatever. You're going to come up and set the edge. Know based on the coverage whether I'm the force player or if the corner's the force. Okay. We can sometimes still spill that block if we've got a good corner force right there. Okay. I'm talking about when I am the force player, I want to teach that kid to set the edge about a yard deep in the backfield. I don't want to get much deeper than a yard because that creates an alley. If I get too deep when I set the edge, that creates space inside of me. We don't want to create space. Offenses want to create space. That's why they spread us out or condense us down. Okay, they want to create space. We want to reduce space. So if I'm the force player, I don't want to be but about a yard deep in the backfield, and I'm going to keep my outside arm free. We teach him 2 techniques on taking on a blocker when he's the force player. Okay, first we teach him what we call a hard joint. I tell them to use a hard joint when they're taking on a bigger body that's coming to kick them out, like a fullback coming to kick them out on power. We're going to hard joint that guy. That means we're going to step into him near foot, near shoulder. We're going to put our inside shoulder in his breastplate, and we're going to hit him with our shoulder because he's a bigger guy, so we need a little more force. If it's a lighter guy coming to kick us out or block us like on jet sweep, maybe a running back leading up or a receiver, now I'm going to punch and stab with my inside hand. So a little different technique, okay, depending on what type of player is it that's coming to kick me out. And we want to set that edge as tight as possible so the alley is not too wide. Then we got our downhill flow. That's power or counter, okay? We want to go replace the feet of the end man of the line of scrimmage. Say we're playing a power team or a counter team. We see that tackle block down. We see that tight end block down. Ball's at us on a 45-degree angle. We're going to go meet the flow of the ball. We're going to go replace the feet of the end man of the line of scrimmage. And a lot of times this is where we're going to have to use the hard joint because we got a tackle or we got a big fullback or somebody like that coming to kick us out. If we get ball inside or away, now we're going to bounce and shuffle and become the cutback player. Okay, let's say we are the left outside linebacker and we get an inside zone away from us. Okay, we're going to bounce in place, balls away. We're going to shuffle. We're going to stack right behind our defensive end. We don't want to cross our defensive end's body until the ball inserts. That way we can force and fold with the same guy. We can be a force fold player. If you get in there too quick, you can't force the ball if it cuts back. If you hang out too far outside, you can't fold if the ball pops up in there. If you run straight ahead when the ball snapped, you can't fold. But if you'll bounce and shuffle and stack on that DN, you can force or fold depending on what the ball carrier does. So that's what we teach him to do. Be ready to fold up in there. Be ready to fold. Here's a good look at it. We're looking at the outside linebacker at the top of the screen right here. We're going to get jet sweep at us, I believe, at 22 right here. So he's our force player. He sees it's fast flow. Here he comes. He's coming to set the edge. Notice he ain't running way out here to set the edge. Why? Because we want to keep this alley tight. We don't want this alley to be too wide. We want it to be as tight as possible. So here he comes. He's going to keep fighting. He's going to keep fighting. Outside arm free, outside arm free. Boom. Get in on the tackle, makes a play on the jet sweep for a 1-yard gain. Good job right there, forcing the ball, getting the ball turned back inside, fighting to keep his outside arm free. Really good job right there on the jet sweep. So that's kind of what we're talking about when we're talking about getting fast flow. All right, we're looking at this outside linebacker right here. Outside zone, boom. Come up and set the edge. You can see him right here, number 7. He's not reducing. All right, watch him bounce. When the ball gets snapped, watch him bounce in place. See if I can get this to slow down a little bit. Watch number 7. Let's see if we can see him bouncing in place right here. 1, 2, 3. Come up, boom. Set the edge. Gets the ball turned back into the linebacker, fitting in the alley inside of him. Really good job by 7 right there. Boom. Really nice. Setting the edge. Being the force player. Getting the ball turned back inside. Let's see here what we got. Trading the tight end on us. All right, 7 up top's our force player. Fullback's coming to kick him out. Hard join it. Get the ball turned back inside. We don't fit it real well anywhere else, but for the purpose of this clinic talk, we're talking about outside linebacker play. He's going to do a pretty good job of being the force player. So now he's got a tight end. He's keying that tight end. That's his key. He blocks down, come up, replace his feet, keeping my outside arm free. You can see right here, if I can get it stopped. There we go. He's keying the tight end. He's bouncing. Here he comes. See him come up and replace his feet right there. Right where the tight end's feet were is where we want him. All right, that's where we want him to be. All right. Now when he takes on the block, again, you can see it really well right there. He's taking it on. He's hard jointing that. Why is he hard jointing it? Because it's a bigger player, right? It's a bigger kid. So he's hard jointing it. He's getting the ball turned back inside. We're just a little late getting the backer over the hump. But a good job by the outside linebacker right there. I think this is the end zone copy of that same play. Trade the tight end. Now that's his key. Even though he's not reducing, he's reading run, come up, boom, hard join it, get the ball turned back inside. Not a bad job at all by that kid. All right, again, we're looking at 7. Come up, set the edge, get the ball turned back inside. Now, he does a good job up to a point right here. He's bouncing in place. He's got the edge set. He's got his outside arm free. That's really good at that point. What's he got to do? He's got to make that tackle if the ball bounces. He's the force player. The ball can't get outside of him. When he misses the tackle, he lets the ball get outside of him, and we give up a pretty big play. Luckily, we had a penalty there. It got called back, but you can see how he came up to force the football. Really good job up until the point where he missed the tackle. All right, now we're watching 22 right here. He should be our force player at the bottom of the screen. Boom, hard join it. Good job keeping his outside arm free. He's keying the end man in the line of scrimmage for run or pass. He blocks down. It's a run. Come up, replace his feet. Keep my outside arm free. Good job by that kid. Good job by that kid right there. All right, this ought to be pretty good. We're late in the year. Second round playoff game. Yeah, this one is really good. I remember this one. He's 22's keying right here. He blocks down. Good job of forcing the football, getting in on the play. He sees that tight end block down. Watch him come replace his feet. This is perfect on downhill flow. Okay, this is a counter scheme, I believe. The back's on a 45-degree angle at him. We got to replace that tight end's feet. We do a good job of that. Get in on the tackle. Really nice job right there. Exactly how we want him to do that when he's the force player. A lot of times kids think when you tell them they're the force player, they think you got to stay wide. Well, if you stay too wide, you make that alley so big that you can't defend it with one person. We want to squeeze that. We want to keep our outside arm free if we're the force player and force the ball inside of us. But at the same time, we want to make that inside gap as small as possible for our buddies. We just don't want to do our job. We want to help our buddies too, if that makes sense. Do your job, help your buddies. Do your job, help your buddies out. All right, we talked about inside or away. All right, when the play is inside or away. So we're watching 22 right here on the right-hand side of the screen, okay? You can see him right now. He's bouncing in place. See him shuffling right there? Let me see if I can get that slowed down for us a little bit. Let's watch 22 shuffle. So now we're talking about flow inside or away. All right, he's bouncing. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Now I can go get in on the play. Really good job of that kid doing what we teach him to do when the ball is inside or away. Shuffle, stack, get to the football. All right, let's watch this kid up top. He's the non-reduce. See him. Here's one thing I don't like. Okay, here's a bad example. Okay, let's watch the kid up top. He's not reducing. We're reducing down here. We've watched this clip earlier. Okay, so this kid ought to be bouncing when the ball snaps. If you watch him, he starts coming up towards the line of scrimmage. At that point, we lose him. We don't want to lose him as the cutback player. Look at where he's at right now. He's at the line of scrimmage. We want this kid to bounce in place and shuffle across at linebacker depth. Okay, so that's a good example of why we teach them to bounce, shuffle, so that we can get them as a force fold player. That's the terminology that we use with those guys. Be a force fold player. You can't do that if you attack the line of scrimmage when the ball goes away from you. This is a great job by 22. This is a great job by 22 right here. The initial action of the play goes where? It goes away from him. Watch him bounce in place, shuffle. Oh, here comes the quarterback back at me. I know I'm the quarterback player. We're in cover 2, so I know I'm the quarterback player. Boom, makes him pitch it. Boom, tackle for loss. That was the first play of the season for us that year. That was the very first play of the year. Really good job by that kid playing his technique right there on the play inside or away. Now let's see what we got right here. All right, 22's the non-reducer. See him shuffling in there. Now I'd like to see him be more physical, okay? But look how that's how you can backfit it. See how he shuffles back in the B gap on the play away from him? I'd like to see him be more physical, but that's the reaction that we want. He's not running ahead to the line of scrimmage, and he's not just standing there. He's going to bounce, shuffle, boom. Now we got an extra hat in there. We got a force fold player because he can fold in there on the inside run. Really good job by that kid if he'd have been a little bit more physical on the play. Okay, 22 again. He should be the guy not reducing. Let's see what we get right here. Play away, shuffle. That's good. See, if that ball were to pop, okay, let's stop this towards the end of the play. If that ball were to pop, like let's say we didn't fit that right. Let's say we didn't fit that really good like we did right here, okay? And this trap play or whatever it is, it pops. That by shuffling and stacking and folding inside, we can still tackle that for what? I don't know, 5-6 yard gain. Whereas if this kid had attacked the line of scrimmage and that thing had popped, the next thing that can maybe tackle it is this safety 10, 12 yards deep. So that's why we like to teach him that. That's why we teach them to force it, fold it on play away.
Hey, Coach. I can let you go for as long as you want to, but I also want to respect your time as well. You've been going for a hot minute.
Yeah, that was my last thing, Coach. I've got some stuff here on coverage. I wasn't going to get into coverage tonight because that wasn't what we was talking about. So awesome. That was kind of the end of it right there. But
Hey, all the clips, and I was sitting there like I was in your meeting room, and I was soaking it in. That was absolutely awesome.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I kind of felt like I was a little bit all over the place, to be honest with you. I could talk about defense forever, but I think we did do is a good job of showing you like what we teach our kids, how we teach them to react to different blocks, how our inside and outside how our defensive end and our outside linebackers play somewhat similar techniques. And then I gave you some clips of not so good early in the year, and a good progression of how we were able to do it better later on.
Yeah, and that's the value in the clinic, because anybody can come out there and show you all the clinic tape, and everything's perfect, and this is exactly how you do it. That's not realistic. You got to put some ugly in there sometimes so you can coach off of it and get better.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
why you watch film.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Coach, I'm gonna go ahead and stop it right here, and I appreciate you coming on. And I'm sure we'll talk for a minute afterwards, but I appreciate you coming on and just talking defense with me. And you're probably gonna be the first defensive guy with defensive video on here, so I'm sure everybody will appreciate that. So,
all right, great, sounds good. I appreciate you having me. I really enjoyed it.
all right, Coach, thank you.
Thank you.